Have you seen them being judged or evaluated by different standards? Has your mother had to take on battles that your dad hasn't had to?
Well, my mother stopped acting when I was much younger, and she's sort of carved out a niche for herself, and she gets a fair amount of, she gets a fair amount of criticism, but I think it's equal when it's someone who achieves what my father has achieved. I think he's going to get criticism. There's always going to be someone who's not going to be happy, and so I think it's pretty much been the same. Women anyway, if they are a little more opinionated, tend to be frowned upon a little, but it'll change.
I think it's changing.
It is changing.
Yeah.
Yes. It is changing, but what's interesting is that there's a double whammy for both of you, right? That one of the things is to set your girls free, right? But you're also simultaneously trying to protect them because of who they are and the families they come from. So how do you find that balance, Shweta, that you want your daughter to be this independent, free-spirited person who pursues her dreams, but you're also being that protective parent because you come from the family that you do? In part, there are other reasons to be protective as well, I'm sure.
For my daughter, she will follow her dreams, and we will all support her in that. That's the way I was brought up. In my home, my father's and mother's home, it's a home of women. There are very strong women in that house. My grandmother was, my mother is, my sister-in-law, me, and she comes from a long line of very strong, independent, opinionated women, and I'm sure that she will carry that forward. So he actually gets all his advice and influences from women, and he takes it and he acts on it because he feels that they have, they work with instinct that a lot of men lack. And I think that's what's going to help my daughter in that way. As far as protecting her, I think that instinct will help her eventually protect herself.
But you did say that initially when you used to get very worked up when she was being commented on in the public space, and then at some point you wrote that you just decided to withdraw from that fight, and you said that one of the things about adulthood was that she would have to just fight her own battles.
Yes. But that said, if these things were being said about my son, I would be as protective.
Yes.
It's not just because she's a girl.
Female, yeah.
We still have a couple of battles.
Like what?
Like, just be careful, I don't want to read horrible things. It really upsets me. And she gets that. And she says, but why? And I say, people aren't very kind. And she'll learn. It's just, she's going to have to learn it in a more public way and in a harder way than maybe everybody else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You also write very sweetly, I thought, about how your parents actually ended up getting married, and how it was actually literally a first time meeting that decided everything. So tell us that story.
The book has more about Dhanush and me getting married.
No, we'll come to that also.
Yeah, I think that's more elaborately explained.
We'll come to that also, because they're also... Okay, I'll come to that, but let's go chronologically.
Yeah, I think they were meant to be. I believe a lot in that, and it was very fairy tale-like. When you hear it once you've grown up a certain age, you feel, oh my God, can this actually happen? That you meet someone, you're in college, and the person is a star, and...
and she's interviewing him.
Yes, and he just decides to marry her, and they just get married. So it's something that doesn't happen in everyday life, and it's something that people would think would not last. But they've been together, and it's been great.
And when you write about your own marriage to Dhanush, you do also speak about how it was an early marriage for you, right? And you did not think you had the space to actually date or hang out or live together or discover each other. Did that make you nervous? Like that, in a sense, that decision had to be taken there and then?
I think we were too young, first of all, to think about all this. And I don't think my parents were pretty conservative about things like this. So when they knew that I liked someone and I wanted to, kind of date and things like that, dating was never even a word in their dictionary. It was not going to happen. And my father was very protective about things that people wrote. Like she says, when we are around and we read things that are written about us on the paper, he didn't want news splashing about me seeing an actor or dating him or being seen outside. So the only thing he was very clear about the fact that if you think this is the person, then there's no seeing or dating or anything of that sort that's happening, then you might as well settle down. So there was not much of a choice that was given, that either it was a yes this way or it was going to be...
And you are how old at this point?
I'm right now 30.
No, not now, when this is happening.
Oh, I was only 22.
So that's young, right?
Yes, but my husband was younger. He was 21. So I think he's the one who needs to be complimented with regard to our marriage, because at the end of the day, I was going to settle down and I wanted to, be at home. And for him, it was this huge, huge thing, that being the daughter of who I am. And he was just beginning, and there's so much that he had to think about. There was so much that he should have thought about. There was so much downhill, saying that, you're always going to be under the shadow, or what if I don't end up making an own name for myself, then people are going to just think that I'm here for this and that. And, it was more of a bigger thing for him, I think. So I really need to give it to him. I think everything's turned out well by God's grace, but if not, there was always that.
In fact, he said that Dhanush said that in one of the interviews, that it was a real struggle for him to prove that he was not getting ahead because he was Rajnikant's son-in-law, and he did not want to be constantly benchmarked against that. And in fact, once he was asked, after he did a sort of Kolaveri take for Mr. Bachchan, that will you do this for Rajnikant? And he said, no, never. So is he kind of scared of him?
No, I think there's a lot of mutual respect, and I think he was always a fan before he knew me or before he got married, and so he's got this kind of a soft corner whether he is the son-in-law or not, apart from that. But I think they've grown, their relationship has evolved through the years, and it's been very mutual, and my father really appreciates the fact that he doesn't use his name around, or he hasn't used it for his advantage. In fact, he understands what a struggle it's been, because everybody would just think that, okay, you're so and so, so it's gonna happen for you. But I do respect the fact that he has carved his own name by himself, and I think that's a huge deal, coming from when he has a looming name like my father around. So yes, I think they respect each other a lot.
I want to ask both of you, Shweta, you've seen your father actually being a politician briefly. And he says never again. In every interview I've ever done with him, he says never again. Your mother has been in Parliament. So in a sense, public life for them has actually gone beyond the industry. And Aishwarya, every now and then someone will say about Rajnikant, oh, then, why doesn't he join politics, right? So I'm just wondering how you see, for you, it's actually happened. How did you as a child see that phase in your dad's life and your mother's engagement with political life?
Well, it's just another facet of being a public person. You are as answerable as an artist to your fans and, also to your country, because you're scrutinized for whatever you do, as you may be, I think, when you're a politician. So I think it's pretty much the same mental makeup that goes into it. It wasn't very different for us. Also, we were not here when he was...
But did you feel like him, oh, Dad, don't do this again?
Yeah, don't do it again.
But not for your mother, right? So she's carried on sort of on her own path in a way.
Yes, because my mother is in the Rajya Sabha.
Yeah.
So there is a huge difference when you're being elected, or
yes, electoral politics and all. Yes.
There's a huge difference in that, and I think it's again of aptitude. My father is a more creative person, and it's more his aptitude to do what he is doing, and he is best at it. My mother is a multitasker. She can do films, she can do this and that. Not that he can't, but I feel she can handle it in a different way that he maybe can't. And yeah, as a child, I agree with his decision to step out and step back.
And how do you respond when people sometimes, and he's never actually done it, of course, but you know, I was just reading articles in this past week that again, you know, this is the time, there's this sort of political space in Tamil Nadu, Rajnikant would be perfect for it. As a daughter, what would you say to him when you hear that?
I was prepared you're going to bring this up.
Well, I've been mostly kind, and this is not an unkind question.
I know, but I think this is best if he answers, because it's really not fair. Because the journey that he has traveled in the industry with the people of the state, I think he's the one who should be answering this. Now, nobody can answer this for him. And it wouldn't be right even to make assumptions, is what I feel. Because the man knows where he stands, and no one else would know better as to why he's doing certain things and why he's not doing certain things. And as a family, yes, I would be very protective.
Your instinct would be don't do it.
I don't know. I wouldn't say don't do it, but I wouldn't say do it. So there's a lot of difference with regard to that. So as a family, we would definitely want him to enjoy his time and space right now with his grandchildren and make movies that he enjoys making. It's no more about running for a position or for a place, and you've been there, done it all. So take that time off, and I would want something more relaxed for him. But it's not about what I want. It's more when you have fathers as big as ours. Actually, we don't get to decide much. It's not in our hands, and I think we need to go with the flow. We never know what the future holds for anyone, for that matter, whether for him or for
Mine can't relax.
You can't, right?
He has to. He's a workaholic.
Oh, my dad keeps
Always
saying
on.
that you know, he's got great regard for Amitabh uncle, and he was so happy that we were doing this today. I was doing it with her.
Yeah.
Because he says that I'm sure she'll be able to relate with what you're talking. She's not going to just come there and sit like any other person and not understand what's going around. So it's I think these are things, very important things that we can't decide and we can't talk or comment about, because it's not something small. So I would not want to comment about it, and I think he's the best person to answer that.
So one of the things you wrote in your book, and I want to ask that in the end, is you said that, you know, when you have fathers as powerful influences, I don't mean powerful in the public way, powerful and deep influences in your life, you always end up looking for that in the men you marry or the men you date or the men you want to fall in love with. Is that a cliche, or is that really true, Shweta?
I think it's true for every girl. You're always looking for, you know, what your father is in not only the men you meet, but you want your sons to grow up to be like them. It's a gold standard.
Yeah.
But I think every girl has that with her father, by and large.
You think?
I do agree, and I think somewhere, like you said, it was too young to get married, but somewhere I saw, you know, qualities that I saw in my dad, in Dhanush, in some way, you know, for me to take that kind of a plunge at that age and not, go on thinking or contemplating about it. I think every daughter has this benchmark, and my husband always mocks about, tells me humorously about it, that that's a position that none of us, no matter what we do, is ever going to take in a daughter's heart. No matter what you do, that's they stand where they stand, and they stand first.
So, as I close, I want you both to use one word that you think would define your father's personality, capture the essence in a way that is perhaps not commonly understood or known, because there are many adjectives that are used for them, superstar and mega stars and all that we know, but just something that captures their essence that maybe everybody doesn't know. Shweta? Okay, you can take more than one word, but one word would be, let's do one sentence.
I would like to say adaptable, patient and gentle.
An unusual description for the public for Mr. Bachchan.
Yes, I think he's an extremely patient man. It's not that he doesn't have the will or desire to do better than everything he's ever done before. He constantly pushes himself, even at 74. But he's also extremely patient, and he knows when to wait and just let things play out. And that's how that's how you manage to last so many decades in an industry that I actually also once wrote is very youth-centric.
Yeah.
He's very gentle because in his dealings with people, he has never been aggressive. He is, even though it's against his on-screen persona, he's in real life an extremely gentle human being. Whenever he's had to explain something to me, or if I've done something wrong, he will never reprimand. He will sit down and it'll be a conversation. And that's how it's been with my brother and me. It's very rare that he will raise his voice.
So quite the opposite of the angry young men myth that has
absolutely
defined
the
him.
I would say Appa is a Destiny's child whose biggest strength is his humility and being real. He's never lost being real. He is what he is on screen, yes, but he would never want to do that off screen. He would never want to be that off screen, and he is very happy in his own skin wherever he is. I think that's a big strength, and he doesn't like to portray something else different. I think that's why people relate with him so much, that he is as real as a person he is as much as he's not on screen. So it's a very contrasting
In both of your cases,
yes.
right?
So, and I think there is so much humility in the person, and it's not put on.
Yeah.
So I think that's his biggest strength, that people get attracted to immediately. And there is so much of spirituality in the person, which kind of balances all that happens around. And I think he knows what he wants. So I think that is a big success for a man.
Well, it has been fascinating, and in fact the affinity, the similarity of experiences for both of you. It's been quite an interesting journey, Shweta. We hope your book will be